welcome back to the Flip Up Podcast. And today, Jaden and I are finally together on the same Zoom screen. And we are joined with Xavier. He is known for marching Academy, Androns, RCC, Orange County Indoor for their Broken City, and is about to be teaching RCC.
Dude, that was such a quiet introduction. This is the first time him and I are next to each other. That was funny.
we can say little spoilers, but this is the second time. The other episode will come up later.
Yeah, we recorded these episodes out of order, but this episode's gonna go first.
The excitement was there.
Yeah. So, but yeah, thank you guys for coming back to another episode. This is actually the first time we're recording in what has it been, a month?
It's been a long time. We had the whole summer thing going on.
Yeah.
Fun, but we're back and we're recording again.
Yeah. And so logistically, we hope you guys enjoyed the takeovers. That was so much fun doing with Pacific Crest, Gold, Madison Scouts, Colts. It was a lot of fun, and the engagement we had with everyone was absolutely awesome. So thank you guys to performers, the text, and let alone you guys watching these episodes right now. It was a really great time. I mean, the amount of support we're getting on our social media now is absolutely insane. So I want to thank you guys again for all of that. And lastly, we started a Patreon. So go check out our Patreon. The support means everything to us, and all the funds that we get through our Patreon are just going to feed right back into you guys. We'd like to get to the point where we can have merch, get more people on our team to help us so we can offer more to you guys. So
no more tissue boxes holding up our computers. No more textbooks.
Dude, we're using a tissue box right now.
And the textbooks.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
No. I hope you don't have to sneeze or anything, man.
It's all right. It's not even opened anyway. So
You're chilling then. You're good.
Oh yeah, cool. But guys, it's time to get on with this episode. Without further ado, here's Xavier.
Yo, what's up, guys? As you heard, I'm Xavier. I've marched OCI, like you said, Orange County Independent, not Oregon Crusaders. I'm on the West Coast. Marched RCC a couple years, marched Academy in 2016, and then I've been teaching Vessel the past couple seasons. Taught at Mandarins in 2018. A lot of high schools, so Torrance, La Quinta, Temple City now, and then yeah, this has been my first year teaching at RCC. So a lot of exciting things on the horizon, but yeah, it's been a long time in the activity so far, or quote unquote long, but
yeah. I mean, it's so if we're talking about COVID, I think this is probably the last time we're going to mention COVID unless something happens in WGI. But we all know this season's been a rough one, let alone last year. But I mean, this year, everyone had COVID regulations. The summer was shorter. I heard rumors there was breakouts in some cores in regards to COVID. So there was a lot going on, but I can't speak on drum corps side because I definitely can say now being aged out of DCI, I really do just look at the cymbal lines. I don't know about you guys, but I don't know what it is. And it might also be the fact that there's just not many cymbal lines. I really do get excited for DCI specifically only for the cymbal lines. I can't get myself to watch Blue Coats like I did back in high school, I'm sure if they had a cymbal line, I'd be craving all over it,
Yeah, I think the longer the years have gone and lines have just been getting cut, that's kind of the pipeline into watching all the other shows. You're yeah, I'm here to watch, Vanguard or, Mandarins, whatever. And so by that, you watch all the other groups. But now because there's not as many, it's a little bit harder to kind of get into it. But yeah, I definitely I'm the same way. There's a cymbal line, I'll watch it, check it out, and then the rest of the show, I'm oh yeah, that was good or whatever. But yeah, it's been hard this year with COVID. I think a lot of people have just been going through some stuff, so it's just it's been hard, and I think it's a little bit of a break too. People who have been doing band a lot, and then it's now it's we're forced to stop. So people are just oh, I can do other things. So, which is healthy, but yeah, it's been interesting for sure.
Definitely. Yeah. Actually, I do have to ask you a question. Especially since, we weren't as involved, like we've been doing social media, obviously, working and stuff like that. Like what kind of things were you doing to occupy your time, even though you've been like long aged out?
Let's see. Vessel had a little bit of a online thing, so we were doing a lot of like video assignments, making comments. Um, so that was nice. It's difficult to teach and like give comments about cymbals over video. It's just one of those things
yeah.
where drums just have a bigger advantage. You have a pad, it's a little easier to see the rhythm, hear the rhythm, that kind of stuff. I'm sure they have their problems as well, but with cymbals, it's like we really need to hear the detail in the sound and be able to go off that, and it was just really difficult. But still did that. And then other than that, I mean, been started coding, so I've been trying to do
hell yeah.
that. And then that's pretty much it. Like in the beginning of the year, man, I was like, everything was just shut down. So it was like, all right, I'm at home, playing Valorant, if playing Smash Bros, whatever, just chilling. Once things started picking up again, like now, it's like, okay, I'm pretty much doing something every day, like band related, but that's pretty much it, man. Like nothing too crazy. Been being responsible, trying to be responsible and stay inside and do all that kind of stuff. So yeah, coding in games, man. It sounds like the life I know, but that's pretty much it. What about you guys? What have you guys been doing like throughout this whole thing? I know the podcast is kind of one of them, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah, that was born from the whole COVID thing. We started doing online lessons because, everyone was at home. So we started that up for a little bit, and then we started thinking like maybe we could start doing podcasts because we want to talk to some other cymbal players and start getting their input. And then that was just like we started thinking about that for months, and then we actually started doing it. That was definitely a big COVID thing. Other than that, like I wasn't really working at the time, so I was just chilling hardcore.
Right?
Staying
Yeah.
inside every day, just playing video games.
Yeah.
I think you're doing the same.
Same thing, literally. I mean, we had school. We both just graduated. And other than chilling out and working now, like I've just been gaming. I invest for you guys who
Nice.
didn't know, big investors. So yeah,
I just started
I'm into that stuff.
doing that myself. Yeah,
Really?
I was getting into the crypto and
Yes,
like stocks and all that kind of stuff. Some days are good, some days aren't. Right now we're good. We're good right now. The portfolio is looking good.
Actually, though, we're gonna have to talk about this at the end of the podcast because I'm actually kind of curious. But yeah,
The
for sure.
content. You want to know where to invest? You gotta.
Yeah,
we're all gonna be rich.
Flip coins.
Yeah, guys, we'll put the after conversation in the Patreon. So yeah,
Dope.
Okay, so enough promoting our Patreon. Like even the other recording we were doing, we said like Patreon like 3 times or something.
Probably.
Yeah.
The shameless plug.
Yeah. Definitely. Cool. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with these topics, guys. So the first one, I should have just pulled it up.
I know. I thought you were gonna ask me. I said, "Don't ask me."
God dang it! Yeah, hold on. We gotta pull that up. I'm blind right now. You're gonna have to read it.
All right. So this was actually one that you had recommended, the design process for East Coast versus West Coast, kind of more grand scale with what it's kind of like with techs and students, and then the design team and how they think of cymbal lines.
Yeah. I think obviously I've heard before that you guys are very visual and that we're sound quality. So I just was wondering, like, what kind of, is that how design people write you guys? Like, do they write you more as a visual component to the show? Is it more of a musical component? Like, what kind of goes on there? I know, like, over here, not everyone, because, some, who doesn't have a line? Dark Sky, rest in peace. Dark Sky doesn't have a line.
A cymbal line?
No. Yeah, they don't have one. They I think that was in 2020. I think 19 they had a line, and then 20 they didn't.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
Cancel them.
yeah. So there's but most of the I feel like at least at RCC they write us very, if they are liberal with the notes, they give us enough to like kind of contribute to the soundscape of the show, and that's kind of what we try to do. We try to sound at the best we can, and it just kind of trickles down. So I wasn't sure like how the East Coast groups do it. Is it any different? Is there some similarities? Like how does that usually work out?
Yeah, actually, I feel like there is definitely a heavy difference because I feel like with East Coast, obviously everything guys we referred to Mason because that's the only place we've marched, but also from other people we've heard on the East Coast. I can speak on George Mason though. Like everything we've done every single year except maybe 2018 we were visually shown, but it's like it was one of those things like we were in that era where like cymbal playing was like, oh yeah, we'll use the cymbal line for moving props to like, yeah, like, oh, this is what we can do. Like I consider like on the East Coast, like the earlier years, it was like the perception of like cymbals were like, yeah, they're there to fill up space and like move props and like provide sound quality while also helping move forms. But
Mm-hmm.
especially 2019, like actually some of the directors trusted us to write some of our choreography in the show, believe it or not, like actual visual body. Because we did the dance break. I feel like we mentioned this every podcast episode. We use this as a great example, but yeah, like we had this like this whole like dance feature.
Okay.
But it also utilized the cymbals. So it was just this whole like mix of both blends, and they utilized us throughout the whole story of 2019, from not only like a show design standpoint but also visually. Like they wanted us to do like this specifically visually. Like I don't think we really got many sound quality comments until 2020 when Paul came in, who he actually marched Vanguard
Okay.
back in the day, and he was probably the first person that really started giving us like sound quality comments. But like even before, people were like, yeah, cymbals be quieter, but it was something where it was like, yeah, I need this to be crisper, shorter, which was something that like we've never like gotten from any battery caption head or any of that before. So it was one of those things where like our role from like where we started to where we're at now, like I feel like it's a very well blend where like they actually like expect stuff sound quality wise, visually, and then also kind of like with visuals, like we trust what you guys can do visually, so come up with your own body, which is something that like unless it's like the whole ensemble, of course they're going to have that, but when it's just cymbals, it's like it's honestly very humbling that there's a lot of trust with us, and it could be the whole vet thing, but there's just so much trust in that ensemble, which is amazing.
I think we did get kind of lucky. We joined around the time when there was a huge shift in staff because
Okay.
there was like CWP folded and then they all came to Mason. So it was like they were new there. We came the second year that they were there, and it was like the year that they were trying to build the organization up. So then slowly through the years that we marched, they started giving us more and more responsibility design wise. Like there's the whole, okay, you guys are doing this whole like body thing that gets you down on the ground, and you're doing this that matches the snares. I like that. And then in 2020, they were like, oh, we saw you do that last year, so we're going to put you up in the front drill wise so that you can do your opening visual. So I think they kind of noticed what we were doing, and they gave us little things to kind of help the show design.
Mm-hmm.
So that was cool. I'm not sure how that is with other groups, but I feel like drill writers are starting to notice at least a little bit that cymbal lines can be utilized more in different ways. So you get more like follow the leader sets where you can have the cymbals do this cool visual or all that.
But then like I can also speak to like Infinity, Mystique. These are just groups I know that have this benefit. Infinity, Mystique, X, where the techs have such a high level of respect, where their input is very like what's the word I'm looking for? Respected. yeah, respected by like any caption heads. Like, well, I can use like, let's say like there's like a feature or something like that, and like the symbols are doing nothing, like in the back, like they're told to go away. Like they'll suggest like, oh hey, like maybe they should do this, like maybe do a juggle here, or like help move what's going on the floor, and they'll trust that, and then cymbal players being cymbal players work their ass off, show that this is something they need in the show, and then the idea is really well respected, and then bam,
Right.
so
I think I think it's good that, I mean, caption heads and writers, I think, should just learn a little bit about the instrument. I feel like a lot of times
Yeah.
people in sections will feel neglected because they don't know anything. They don't know anything about cymbals. They don't know, so they're just like, whatever, go. I think at least the years I've taught, some of the best years have been when the writers, designers, whatever, they'll like come to me and be like, hey, what do you think about this sound here, this, that, whatever, and we like collaborate, which is what it should be. Like people should collaborate with, I mean, all the sections. I think they do that already with snares, basses, tenors, but if they don't know a lot about the instrument, they should rely a little bit more on the people that are teaching in order just to help them out and like give a better experience for the members themselves. So I think it's super good. Collaborating is like really good.
Yeah, it's like really not that hard to learn the basics of what notes we're playing. And yet if you asked 90% of all like snare techs or battery techs or caption heads what a like ting is or what a tap choke is, they'd be like, something like this. Like they probably have no idea.
Yeah.
But
But I
they
think
just like write the music and they're like, oh, okay, go have text, do whatever.
right. I think more people are starting to notice now just because everyone is like a little more knowledgeable about their instrument now. So I think a lot of people are starting to get info, and like I think just talking is just important. You got a snare buddy, you got a tenor buddy, and they're like, what, they start asking questions. Like I think if you have the info, you should like definitely tell them and teach them how to do it, because then they'll start to open their mind. Like I know in Mandarins in 18, when I was on staff, some of the people were just talking about cymbals. Like I would mention things and then they would ask questions and then I would start talking about it. And then they would go over and like be like, oh yeah, I totally noticed this now. And I noticed this. Like it just kind of opens up their mind. So I think just
awesome.
having a discussion in the first place, like why not talk about it?
Definitely. So actually kind of going off of that question, I'm curious on the West Coast side, like we kind of briefly talked about it, but would you say that you guys are heavily utilized in like a sound standpoint? Like do they like ask for critique about what you guys need visually as well?
Sometimes I think sometimes they're like, hey, for example, the cymbal little solo piece in RCC 17, they pretty much were just like, can you make this cool? Like, what can you do here? Like, they didn't give us anything there. We just kind of wrote it. Us as a section wrote it. And then like the drill, they kind of like, Peter was like, oh, move here. And then Peter and Jamie like, oh, try this, that. And so I just kind of figured it out from there. So I think in certain situations, I think they can be like, like here's the note symbols, like try to make it, visually appealing. Like how are you gonna make it look better, essentially? There's a couple times where they're like, guys, this sound is too loud, or not loud, but it's too like long. Like, oh, can we make it shorter? Like, what kind of things can we do? And we'll try different things. Like, oh yeah, I like that one. Okay, we'll do that. So it's a lot of that kind of stuff. I think most of the time it's the designers and then the techs kind of facilitate that. Like they want this, tech is like, got it, and then they do their thing. But every once in a while, like a couple times, the members, they'll be like, oh hey, at least from my experience, I can't speak for like all the other groups, but at least for like RCC and that kind of stuff, I think they trust the members enough to, if they like really need something, that, hey guys, like try to figure this out. And I think moving forward, it's going to be like that a lot more as well.
Definitely.
But soundscape wise, like sound quality wise, I think that comes more from the tech themselves. I think a lot of the people over here, we focus on sound quality, not because we want to necessarily. I think most of our ideals are, you know, we got to play the instrument, so we got to make sure that it sounds good. Like there's no point if it doesn't sound good. And so that's just what they teach, and then that's what we do. So we spend a lot of time on sound quality, but it's because it's hard. It's hard to get consistent with it, especially in indoor, because you only got those weekends. You don't even have it's not like drum corps where you can spend all day every day with them with sound quality. So you really have to the members really have to do the work in the week and be like, okay, I gotta figure out, what are my quirks? Like, how can I make this sound a bit better? And that way, when we come on the weekends, like a lot of that work is hopefully kind of figured out and done. That way we can just kind of detail and fine tune it as much as possible. But I think the designers and the people who write, I think they're more so focused on like what kind of notes they are. And I think the techs are like, how good does it sound? I think that's kind of how it filters down.
Yeah. I'd say it's about the same with us, because we're never at the point where like, hey, we want to just not play this, or hey, we want to play this, It's always been like whatever they say, like absolutely goes. But it's exactly what you're saying. It's really up to the techs and the members to really be able to decipher, like, does it sound good? It's honestly not really even the members, because yes, like you can hear things, but like the way it gets perceived up front can always be different. So it definitely, like you said, it's heavily on the tech, and also the battery staff, if they're listening in, to really decide if it's the right thing. So
right, it's a very it's kind of it can get like kind of complex, but I think the more we start to learn about each other and other sections, like it's just going to be a little more of a cohesive end product. So
definitely,
let's make it happen, you techs out there. All you caption heads listening, come on,
dude. No caption heads listening right now.
Hey, you never know, man. You never know. Yeah. I think that's that's the jobs of us, really. It's to talk about it. Like, how often do people just talk for hours about cymbals? Like, I do this all the time with my friends. Like, oh, it'll be like a discussion. It gets into cymbals, and then like 3 hours later, it's like, oh wow, that's a long conversation about cymbals.
No, literally, we created the podcast off of the idea that so many people, don't really have a place to say something, or like a platform to say it, and like, or to represent like visually. Which there's a lot more now, like you see it on YouTube and stuff, but like an actual like home base for all that. And that was the purpose of this. Like one of our friends that we marched with at George Mason, David Kim, he gave us a 2-hour lecture on how to make the perfect cymbal strap, nylon cymbal strap. So we want to have him on the podcast eventually to elaborate on that idea.
Yeah, everyone has like some unique idea about cymbal playing. Just every single player or every single member out there, they all have their own unique ideas that they're just like holding on to. We're trying to get everyone to just express this, and then people can hear this stuff instead of just being like, oh, my tech told me this, so I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
Like we're hearing West Coast stuff and we're like, oh, this is like amazing. This is cool. We're understanding.
But here's the thing though, since having West Coast people on, there are so many things that I told them this. I think the biggest things I actually learn on these podcast episodes are the people who have been long aged out, or the people who are on the West Coast, because East Coast stuff you hear on repeat generally. It's like stuff you like, because it's the standard of what you need to do. But like on the West Coast, it's like there's so many ideas that I've learned just through doing these podcasts. I'm like, why the hell are we not thinking of it this way? Like, and like, that could be said vice versa, but I really do think like there's so much more that like you can really unify these two ideas. But it's like, I mean, that could get into the whole politics of this whole thing.
Yeah. I think, I've always said, and I tell people, like, just if you're passionate about the instrument, like talk about it, think about why things work. And again, that's why so much information is getting brought up, and like people are understanding the mechanics and like how and why things work. And we just have to continue to learn. I think the people who kind of refuse to learn, or they just take the info and like they don't put their own thought on it, they don't like really learn about it or understand why sometimes, and it just becomes like regurgitation, and it's just the same thing over and over and over again. It's like, no, like go home, think about it, talk about it with your friends. Like you might have an idea and you might have your own spin on it, and that might actually be a great thing to like communicate to someone. But if you don't, it's like, we're just going to get the same info like over and over again for like 10, 15, 20 years or whatever. Like I mentioned this earlier about the whole flip thing, where like back in the day, learning how to flip was just like, yeah, you just do it. Yeah, just flip, just do the rotation. And, I'd go home and like try to figure it out and like talk with my other homies and that kind of stuff and be like, how do you guys do this? And they would kind of go over it, and then I go over it, and then it's like, oh, that's a good idea. And then there you go, new info. So, yeah, just if you're passionate about it, like talk about it with your friends, just like, food and like really anything else, food, games, yeah, anything like that. Like you talk about it for hours, and I feel like cymbals should be the same way. Especially in especially if people are teaching. I think me personally, I think I have to do a better job at this as well. But like, I think as a community, I feel like not a lot of us just talk about stuff, if that makes sense. Like we don't, like this is a medium to do that. But a lot of us just don't talk about like, hey, what are you doing over there? And then they explain it, hey, I'm doing this over here, and like try to just get ideas out. And we don't have to agree necessarily, but like it's like just hearing your side of it. What do you do? What do I do? And like maybe you can learn something from that. Or it's like, I don't really like doing it like that because X, Y, and Z. And it's like, oh, okay, I can see that. And like that kind of stuff. And just asking for help. Like no one wants to ask for help in the community, it feels like. Or it's just like, oh, I got it. It's like, but do you really?
Yeah, definitely.